Welcome back to Liberty's Hill, where we explore the question, how can we create a world of human flourishing with liberty, justice, dignity, and prosperity? I'm Dr. Bill Brannan, a pastor in Liberty Hill, Texas. Today we will explore the question, do secular colleges cause students to lose their Christian faith? Since I began in ministry in the 1990s, Christians have been talking about the problem of their children losing their faith in secular colleges. It has been a statistical problem that is real, and the solution many parents choose has been to send their children to Christian colleges or not to send them to college at all. The emphasis was always on the danger of the ideas, values, and culture on college campuses. But there's little self-reflection where we ask whether there may be a problem with how we are educating our children before college. I think we need to also consider the implications of Christians withdrawing from academia. What I want to ask is whether there is a way to educate our children in a manner that they do not lose their faith in college. I think about Daniel and his 3 friends being educated in the Babylonian system and never losing their faith. Daniel was able to rise to influence in both Babylon and Persia and never lost his faith or corrupted his character. I have to wonder whether how we approach Christian education may actually be training our children to lose their faith in college. Could the problem be that we tell our children what to think rather than teach them to think for themselves? If all we do is teach them to believe whatever the authority teaches them, then aren't they just doing what we taught them when they get to college? When I was the head of school at a private Christian K-12 academy, I worked with someone who told me about her journey from indoctrination to emphasizing teaching students to think. She worked at a Christian school, and one year they had 3 students who ended their lives. She realized that the whole school was focused on telling students what to think. They were tested on regurgitating what they were told to believe. They were not allowed to express doubt or genuinely wrestle with ideas. They never owned the ideas or values for themselves. It was an assembly line that made people look good on the outside without ever getting into their heart. It didn't give students the skills to think for themselves or develop wisdom and virtue. It did not teach them to love what is good, true, and beautiful. It did not connect with the need for understanding or connect with their desire to find purpose and significance. It was a machine of conformity, which is the opposite of a garden growing human flourishing. Something else I experienced among Christian parents and educators was a fear to let their children be exposed to ideas and values that they are going to experience in the world. For example, try to find a Christian educator who loves to teach the Epic of Gilgamesh. They read it and they don't know how to process it. I suggest that this is a byproduct of a failure of Christian education. I will try to help you understand the challenge through my watered-down summary. Essentially, Gilgamesh was a horrible tyrant that made people miserable. He would go into the bedchamber of wives on their wedding day. The people cried out to the gods, and they sent Enkidu, an untamed hairy man in the wilderness. The people were troubled by him as well, because he let animals out of their traps so that they couldn't hunt. Their solution was to send a prostitute to tame him. Eventually, Enkidu went to fight Gilgamesh when he was going into a woman on her wedding day. He lost, but the 2 of them became friends and did exploits together. We see the crazy and arbitrary world of their gods, where some favor them and others have bones to pick with them. Because of the tyranny of the gods, Enkidu dies, and Gilgamesh is forced to wrestle with the deeper issues of life. He goes on a soul journey that seems to lead him to whom we would call Adam in search of eternal life. It is given to him in the form of a plant, which he wants to bring back to eat with the elders of his city. Before he gets home, a serpent steals eternal life. In the end, we see a person whose character changes for the better through friendship and suffering. There are all kinds of incredible ideas in this short book to explore and have great conversations about. But that is impossible if we are offended by some of the ideas it contains. It is a great opportunity for us to recognize what is good, true, and beautiful wherever it may be found, and learn to not easily be offended. The very types of ideas and values we want to discuss with our children in the context of asking them to imagine the effects of those ideas and values on the world. I have seen Christian high schools ban Orwell's 1984 because of its graphic nature. I understand the reason, but do we really think our children are not being exposed to worse in our culture today, no matter how we try to totally control their environment? If we have to control their environment, is that really the world we want to enculturate them into? Would it be valuable to let them work through these things in a safe environment? I know there are issues of age appropriateness and that it is relative to how people have been educated at earlier stages of development to handle more difficult ideas and issues. What I have to ask is whether we are truly preparing our children for the challenges they will face if we try to shelter them from the ideas and issues that they're likely already dealing with, even if we believe we have fully controlled their environment. If we are concerned about our children losing their faith in secular colleges, we need to wrestle with these types of issues and ideas. We have to wrestle with whether we believe we can prepare our children to flourish and stand strong in the world. For many Christians, what they are looking for in a K-12 education is a bubble to protect them from the big, bad, evil world, rather than an environment that empowers them to be light and a blessing in the world. We need to think about the implications of this. Many people, Christians and non-Christians, are concerned about the trajectory of society. If we fail to raise our children to be a light and a blessing to the world, then what will the future look like for their children? What happens when good people withdraw from the institutions of the world? As a Christian, I believe there is absolute truth and that it is self-evident in creation. I believe everyone has a conscience and the ability to reason, but we need to develop the ability to think critically and be governed by reason rather than appetite. We need civil discourse, something that should be learned growing up through conversational learning. We need to learn to love and respect others even when we disagree. I personally think that we need to focus on virtue, wisdom, truth, and beauty rather than doctrinal conformity if we are going to create a better world for our children and their children. We need to be friends and not enemies of those who think differently. We need to create a world where we are free to believe what we choose to believe. I believe God has given us that freedom, and it is our right. I also believe we have the freedom and right to try to persuade others to believe as we do, and they have the right to do the same for us. I believe it is dangerous to give in to fear or divisiveness when we disagree. I understand that there are very practical issues that people are immediately disturbed with in society today. Their solution to protect their children in light of these issues is often trying to control their environment and indoctrination. We can see that it is not working. I hope people will wrestle with some of the ideas I presented here today to cultivate a better world. My primary reason is that I believe in God-given freedom and rights, and believe, therefore, that persuasion, though slower in changing the world, will produce a world of human flourishing, while coercion and control will not. Yet how can we avoid creating a world of coercion and control when that is often how we raise our children? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and please subscribe to my channel.